Hey, good morning, everybody. Time for another edition of Tropics Talk on this Friday, June the 18th. Of course, all eyes on the Gulf of Mexico, potential tropical cyclone 3. Area of low pressure. We've been talking about this storm system for about 2 weeks now. It was broad low pressure in the South Caribbean, then it migrated its way across Central America, found its way into the Gulf of Mexico, and now finally, about 2 weeks later, today is the day that if this is going to become a tropical depression or tropical storm, this is when it will happen. Prior to moving onshore, closing out the day in portions of Louisiana. So there's the advisory from the Hurricane Center, and I don't want you to get too caught up on this nomenclature, potential tropical cyclone. What does that mean? Potential, obviously. It isn't technically, it hasn't reached the definition to be considered a tropical depression or tropical storm just yet. But the Hurricane Center expects it to do so before landfall, and so this new type of naming system, which came out a couple years ago from the Hurricane Center, allows them to put out their full suite of products, their cone of concern forecasts, their advisories, and that's exactly what this is here. The 8 a.m. advisory, 35 mile per hour sustained winds moving north at 14 miles per hour. It's pretty interesting looking satellite presentation because honestly, at this point, this looks more like a non-tropical low or mid-latitude cyclone, like a nor'easter, more than a tropical system. In fact, let's dive in to the satellite presentation here. I can draw on this for you if I can get it to work properly. So you're seeing sort of that classic comma shape. Notice sort of that comma. That's again sort of the calling card of a non-tropical low pressure area. This feature up here, this is a stalled out frontal boundary. It's part of what's been responsible for all the messy weather we've had across Florida here this week. And then you're seeing broad southerly flow bringing in that warm tropical air northward, what's called warm air advection, and that deck of cloud coverage that's going to keep us cloudy in Florida here today. You have your upper level low back here, and that's sort of the feature that still has been focused here. So right now, again, you're really seeing the warm air advection out ahead of it, cold air advection behind it, sort of fueling this. This is a non-tropical process fueling this low pressure area right now. The question is, in this vicinity right here where the thunderstorms are blossoming, do we get a tropical core to form? If so, then we'll have a depression, perhaps even a tropical storm before landfall. But right now, all the weather is very much displaced, all the bad weather that is, very much displaced from where that center of low pressure is. As you look over at, this is the model winds and pressure. You have your broad circulation marking that upper level low, which is centered a little bit further to the south than where our model has it marked here. And note the colors are showing the stronger winds. The strong winds are all associated right now with the front that's back up on the northern Gulf Coast. So again, nowhere near that center of low pressure, at least at this point in time, which is not what you look for in a purely tropical low pressure area. That would have the strongest winds right by the center. This is what the winds look like from this from the ASCAT satellite that passed over a couple of hours ago. And this is sort of a zoomed out view, but you can see where the swirling is and where sort of that center of that broad circulation is still well in the southern Gulf of Mexico. So again, the big question is, do we get that center circulation to relocate further northward here today? If not, this is just a blob of rain that moves onshore. But a good many models still suggesting that is going to happen. You look at the different model plots, about half of them showing this becoming a tropical storm before it moves onshore this evening, tonight, early tomorrow morning. And then many actually holding serve with that intensity going forward as that heads its way inland. But note, a number of models keep this from ever developing, and that includes that red line at the bottom. That's the GFS forecast model. Let's actually look at that solution. So there's your broad circulation in the central Gulf of Mexico. This is 8 a.m. here today, and an enhancement of that rain along and close to the front. And that's the feature that the GFS tries to latch onto. Note, by the time we get to 1 a.m. Saturday, it does spin up some type of surface cyclone, perhaps a tropical depression, perhaps a tropical storm at that point. Still keeps all the rainfall displaced from the east to center. So even if this does come together, this model says it's very, very disorganized and sloppy. By early Saturday morning, whatever this is inland, but it's still a prolific rainmaker at this point in time, and that rain continues to pour down as what's left of the circulation heads inland, still helping to kick off quite a bit of rainfall parts of the southeast through Sunday. Similar solution showing up on the European forecast model. Again, there we are, 8 a.m. Friday. Your circulation is broad, but there's that little lobe of the spin due south of the New Orleans area in the central Gulf of Mexico on this model. So it's picking up on maybe that is what's trying to start to come together. There you go. We spin off that localized low pressure area. This model brings it in right about Friday evening to southern Louisiana, but again, it's just not looking all that impressive on this model. It does not have that classic tropical core or signature on the satellite. Your broad swirl goes on, the heavy rain continues to pour down, and this model holds on to the structure of the low much longer. Actually continues it right on into parts of the Carolinas and Georgia, and look at all that rain the European model puts down. It's actually piling that rain up, and it still shows a wide area. Look at that, all the way into southern North Carolina, potential for 8 inches of rain. So I think that's the takeaway, and we've been telling you this all along, regardless of what this becomes. If it does take the name Claudette, if it stays weak and disorganized, the main issue is going to be heavy rain and the threat for flooding, and that could be the case well inland going forward too. We'll leave you with the Cone of Concern forecast. The Hurricane Center calls for this to be a tropical storm, perhaps taking that name by 2 o'clock on Friday, and then moving onshore in the early morning hours Saturday, and continuing to track north and eastward from there, spreading a whole lot of rain north and eastward with it. So, we'll be keeping a close eye on this. If and when this does take the name Claudette or is upgraded to a tropical depression, we will let you know. Chief Meteorologist John Patrick will have a full update on this system coming up. ABC 7 News 6, 7, and 11 tonight, so be sure to tune in then. Until next time, I'm meteorologist Jim Dickey. Have a good one.